Hey folks, Rich here, South Florida Beekeeping with Rich. Um, I wasn't sure this was a video. The boss thinks it is, and after what happened this morning, I guess, yeah, it probably is a video. Um, so, necessity is a mother. We all know that. And a few weeks ago, we had a situation with a couple of club members. Uh, Somebody needed to find and catch their queen to replace her because she was Africanized and the state had come down on it. And we needed to get her out, but the new queen had not been ordered. And then the new queen was ordered, but then a hurricane came through and yada, yada, yada. It just, it was going to be a week and a half before the queen got there. And we didn't want the hive to be queenless for a week and a half. So, quick like a bunny, I had a whole bunch of these really cheap push in queen cages that I had ordered from China years before. Queen cages more often look like this, and these are a much better version of the same thing.
And those push into a
These just
comb.
push into a piece of comb and isolate the queen right there.
She can still be attended to.
She
then.
can be still attended to and this sort of thing. But um, what we needed was to be able to remove her whenever the new queen did come in. And we wanted to have that queen available to save a hive that had gone queenless. You know, yeah, maybe she's not the best queen, but she was a good layer and had been around for a year. And we wanted to use her to at least get this other hive picked back up. So, real quick, like, I grabbed one of these queen cages, a scrap of thin plywood, stuck the cage on there, glued it on with some hot glue, ran a bead of tight bond 2 around it to seal it real well and make it nice and sturdy, right? As you can see, I drilled a double hole in the back, cut a piece of metal.
Show me the hole again. I didn't get to see that. Oh,
I just did a little double here. We don't have plenty of room to let her in.
Right.
Put a little blob of hot glue right there to act as a stop. Cut this little piece of metal out of, let's see if I can, yeah, the other one might show it a little better. Yeah, just turn the other way. No, this one shows it better. It was actually a spam container. It was, the thin metal from a spam container. I just cut a little piece off, bent up an edge, put that little blob there so it does that. And this one had it as well, but after having done all that, just put a piece of tape over it just to make doubly sure that nobody was going anywhere with it. But we made one first, took it over there, we caught the queen, we put her in here, we dropped her back into the hive. She could be attended to right here, but she couldn't continue to lay. Worked perfectly because it was such a long time before the new queen came in. The moment the new queen came in, we just took this out, ran it over to the other member's house, and dropped it in.
And let them get acquainted with
Let
her.
them get acquainted for a couple of days, and then opened up the back, let her out, and she started laying and doing fine. So, necessity is a mother. These, are you likely to have these cheap cages? Well, maybe not, but you know what? When I see 10 of something for $2.30, I'm liable to buy it and just throw it in a box. I actually have a box over there that has a label on the front that says cheap Chinese plastic stuff.
Sorry.
That's where these come from. Could this have designed some other way? Yeah, sure.
But that fits right in the.
It just drops in. All right. This one was going in a deep box, so we did a little bit deeper. Mind you, since I was just using whatever piece of scrap came to hand, this is a little wide this way, so you notice I had to whittle the edges of it because you really don't want the edges sticking up above the edge of the box in case you had to have another box on top.
You could have actually used the same one for both boxes.
There was.
I mean, where the queen is in the cage and placed, does that make a difference?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Well, in this case, the queen is around the middle.
Uh-huh.
If you'd used that in a deep box, the queen would have been higher up. Would have that
Yeah.
have made a difference?
No, it's just that this was a scrap of wood that I grabbed one time. This is the scrap of wood I grabbed the other time.
Ah,
I didn't
okay.
do any cutting or trimming.
So you didn't deliberately make one longer than the other just because it was a deep box.
No, it's not a plan.
Okay,
It
well,
was
that's
just
why my question, it looked like you deliberately.
no.
Okay.
I just grabbed whichever piece of scrap wood came to hand that would look like it would do the job, and did the job with it, because sometimes you just got to get it done.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm showing you how to make a quick and dirty queen cage, because I had these, but they were buried deep, deep, deep. I'm in the process of taking out all these boxes and reworking them, and I dug down deep enough to find these. It literally took half as much time to make those as it would have been to shift all those boxes to get to this. But this is what a queen release cage is supposed to look like. It has a hole over here. You wiggle out this peg. She can come out that hole. You put her in through here. In case anybody thought that somehow or other that I thought that this was a brilliant new idea on my part, it wasn't. It's just that these were buried too deeply to make it worthwhile doing. It took a lot less time to make those little ones. And, this was a good way to get it done so that we could easily retrieve the queen later on, transport her, and install her in a new cage.
So you could also guarantee that you weren't going to have a swarm in the meantime, too.
Yeah, or well, more to the point, we could guarantee that we weren't going to have stimulation for there to be laying workers inclined to start. So, if the queen's pheromone is still there and still strong, then the hive is still peaceful. Apparently, this wasn't a terribly peaceful hive, but at least, they weren't upset because they were queenless. That's all. So, in case you're asking yourself the question and you don't think that I referenced it well enough, if the state didn't like this queen being in the box she was in, why would we put it in another box? Well, the house where the queen was, the entrance to the hive was literally 1 foot away from the neighbor's property. Where the queen went was dead center of a 2-acre piece of property. The only person within 300 or 400 feet of that box was the beekeeper whose apiary it was, and it is only a temporary fix while we get into spring where it's time to get a new queen there. She's not going to cause any problems where she is. She's just going to renew this hive. And I kind of forgot to mention that what actually convinced me to do this video was the fact that another club member called me this morning. He has just received a queen from Man Lake, but he's going away in a couple of days, and he's not totally sure that his old hive was queenless. And if he had something like this, that would have probably been the best answer to his question. He could have put the new queen, into something like this, put it in the hive. She would have been taken care of, and we would have had time to figure out whether the hive was queenless or not.
Would the old queen have been able to get to her and sting her?
No.
She'd have been able to evade?
No.
Ah.
And that's assuming there was a queen. The problem is, this is the end of November. And the end of November, the fact that there may not be any brood in your hive doesn't mean anything, because queens, particularly queens of known stock, do that in the fall. They stop laying. We're just not used to seeing it down here with our Africanized bees. They tend to always have a certain amount of brood. But still, in my first year of beekeeping, I had that same situation. I had hives as we got towards the 1st of December that had 0 brood in it. And I did a lot of reading, and the reading told me to wait a week and then look again. And when I waited a week and looked again, there was brood in all my hives. So sometimes, if you're there to monitor things, then you maybe wouldn't have needed this solution. But in the case of the guy who called this morning, He's not going to be there. It's going to be difficult to monitor and try to figure things out. This would have been an easy fix for that. She could have been in there. She could have been taken care of. And if the other queen was there, it would have solved it. So there you go. It's a simple little video. Just take what you got and make something that'll do the job that you have in mind. And as you can see, this one was in there for 10 days or so. And it worked perfectly. It's just a little tip and trick. If you have a problem, figure out what the solution looks like and then build something that looks like the solution. That's all. So be sure to like and subscribe. See you guys later.